Well, there, good evening. John Myers here, the sober Christian deadhead. Also identifies as a worship leader and an independent, decentralized thinker. So let's talk about that part tonight. What is decentralized thinking? How am I an independent thinker and possibly even a libertarian, although I don't like to belong to any political party? But I would really like tonight to talk about something that you don't hear that much about. And the whole umbrella of tonight's talk is called decentralization. And what is decentralization? Well, I can tell you what centralization looks like. Centralization is control of the parts and the pieces of the body of whatever organization or, for instance, department that is being controlled uniquely from the top down. So the federal government is a great example of centralized thinking and central control. Originally, when the Constitution was formed and the United States kind of chartered itself, the individual states were independent, centralized in their own processes and laws, and they pretty much could do what they wanted to do as long as they followed the U.S. Constitution. The United States Constitution did not frame individual laws, the states or jurisdictions thereof or counties could make their own local laws. So there is no such thing as pure decentralization. There's always going to be somebody in control. The question is, how close does that control get to the population? The closer the control of something is to the population, the more decentralized it is from central control. So an example would be like a local school board or a local a board of education, or maybe a county commissioner's office. They would make laws normally, traditionally, the way it's supposed to be, pertain just to that population that's in their jurisdiction. They could tax people if everyone agreed. They could spend that money as everyone agrees, and they could proceed down through life by what that group of people says. Those group of people don't have to be all the same type of thinking. You can have an Amish community, for goodness sakes. They operate on their own, by the way, quite a bit. Some Islamic countries or people, even the United States, have their own Sharia law. But that doesn't follow the U.S. Constitution, so that would be a problem. Now, let's talk about, I'm a decentralized dreamer. I love decentralization, and I'm going to go through some examples. So listen up, because this is a great, great talk. And if you disagree with me, it's okay. I may have a couple of things wrong. Some of my descriptions of certain things, you may say, oh, no, that's this. Okay, that's fine. I'm not a scholar, but I have studied. I guess, in a sense, I'm a scholar for what I know, but I don't teach this at the university. That's my disclaimer. But this is also information anybody can get if you just know how to dig and look for it. So let's talk about decentralized. This is the easiest example. Decentralized currency. That's crypto. Crypto is, for the most part, decentralized. There is no one government, central government controlling it. There's no financial arm of the government controlling it. The FTC doesn't control it. It's not controlled by the entities that control securities and stocks, generally speaking. There are some crossovers happening now, but crypto is, because its very nature is mined, if it is a mining crypto, by decentralized computers that run on an algorithm that talk to each other, but there's no one person in charge. Particularly true of Bitcoin. Probably the greatest example of that is Bitcoin. Probably why it's going to be around the longest. A centralized currency is the U.S. dollar, or any country's dollar, but particularly the U.S. dollar is so highly manipulated and controlled imprinted nilly-willy, and there's a lot to say about that, and I'm sure you know where I'm coming from. So the U.S. Control of the U.S. dollar is worldwide. It's not just in the United States. It's the only currency that has a remarkable grip of control, and it's being lost every day because there's competition to the U.S. dollar, particularly through crypto and the BRICS currency. So where crypto, if you're an investor and you have all your money in U.S. bonds and stocks, that dollar is the part that's controlled, and therefore you are somewhat. But in the terms of crypto, there is no central control of cryptocurrency in most cryptos. So they have a little bit better possible life of being, when I say fraud proof, I mean from the top down. There may be fraud in crypto. There always has been some fraud in crypto for what it's used for at times, but not much, but it has been in the past. But that's decentralized currency. Then there's decentralized information. So decentralized information is, I'll tell you what centralized information is, mainstream media. Mainstream media is like the world's biggest echo chamber. And mostly we found out that they lie. And we're finding out every single day that they lie. More and more and more. It's coming out. If you're not hearing about it, that's because that's all you're watching is the big three networks, and you're not getting the truth. And hello, wake up. Okay. So a great example of decentralized information is different platforms that are out there. So, there's, YouTube's centralized, it's controlled. Google's centralized, it's controlled. Most of all the platforms, they've had a cancellation on it and control, and that's just, now Rumble is not very controlled. X is not very controlled. Donald Trump's platform, I can't think of it right now because it's not that popular, but is not as controlled. So you get these decentralized news sources. Epoch Times, not as controlled. Fox News, I think I'm not so sure about Fox News. I think they're good at telling one side of the story, but I'm not sure they reveal enough information that you can really rely on the full story there. But they are counterbalancing the other networks, so it's nice to see that still is out there. But all the networks lie; they all work together, in my opinion. That's just me. Food, decentralized food. This one's so important. So if you look at the Department of Agriculture, its thumb has been pressed on farmers for half a century or more. The EPA has had its thumb down on farmers and on people. Those are not decentralized. How about this? How about a law being passed to allow people to grow whatever food they want? If they want to grow some food, they can grow some food. If they want to take it to the farmer's market, they take it to the farmer's market. But they don't need to have 4, 5, 6, 7 government entities charging them, finding them, telling them what they can and can't grow, at what season and when and why not. That's centralized control of the food supply, and that probably needs to change. People need to be allowed to access their own food sources, in my opinion. What happens with centralized food control is small farms go out of business, and it becomes big corporate processing farms, and the horrible pesticides and all of the ingredients that we don't want in our food are in that genre of food. It's highly controlled. You must use certain additives. You must use certain pesticides and fertilizers. You're controlled on what you can plant. The seeds have to be a certain GMO type of seed. This is what RFK has been elected or brought in by the Trump administration to work on. This is one of the things he will be working on. Centralized medicine, single payer medicine. Everything's top-down control. Remember, the more central control, the less control the people have. So would you like to have control of your health? Would you like to have control of your food, of your thinking, of your currency, your money, the information? Don't you want control? Don't you want to, at least, even if you're wrong, don't you want to have some way of accessing information where you can talk authoritatively to people and actually, instead of using words to bash people, use facts and figures and be able to have intelligent dispositional conversations where there's two sides because there's points of view instead of one side echo chamber when you're being told what to do on everything. And this is decentralization. It needs to happen. What I described was centralization just now. So how about, decentralized thought? That was wiped out in the last few years. You couldn't say, you'd be attacked by trolls. If you said something that was against the big media narrative, there's a whole side that was just slashing and burning conservatives and free thinkers and independents and libertarians. Oh no, you can't think that. You're a racist. You're bad. You're this, you're that, you're labeled, and then this label group fights this label group. Sorry, that's not my libertarian thinking process that I want to see. That is a cause for great concern. So decentralized media, decentralized education. Yeah, Department of Education. We're hearing a lot about that in the news. Why? Because No Child Left Behind and all that stuff is telling people at their own level in their own communities that they have to think and act and teach the way Big Brother from the federal government in Washington, D.C. is telling us that we have to be taught. Or our children have to live under some hypocrisy that isn't real. They have to be told all kinds of crazy transgender stuff that just obviously is not real science. And what's happening with all that is that it's, YouTube can get mad at me for saying it, but that's my opinion. I'm not telling you that it's your opinion. This is my opinion. But the decentralization of education should be local. Your school board should have control. The reason why they say it should be local is because people have more access to local politicians than for politicians and school and board members who are, say, in Washington, D.C., dictating to people how they have to think, how they have to eat, how they have to be taught, what information they're allowed to get, what money they're allowed to use. Are you serious? Come on. Look, when I grew up, I was a hippie. And we hippies think exactly like I'm thinking now. And yet a whole bunch of my friends who were hippies, I'm not going to call you out, you know who you are. You think I'm an idiot for voting for Trump. Well, you don't understand. Trump's decentralized. Trump's pro-crypto. He's brought people in his administration that want from the top down to decentralize the government. Hey, friends, don't you remember that's what we wanted? Don't you remember? Think back to the 60s and 70s. Free love, free everything. I want to do my own thing. And now what? You disagree with me? Come on. Put on your thinking cap. We're on the same side. You've just been persuaded by the media and by the sound echo chamber you're in groupthink. It's time to stop groupthink. It's time to start you think. And you friends, if you're seeing this video and I've known you 30 or 40 years, you know who you are. And I'm kind of calling you out because it's time to decentralize your life. And you are already. You really are, because I know how you live. You just haven't come around to realize that John Myers also is, but in a very global way, a very important way. Decentralized regulations. The very idea of a regulation is to centralize. You want the regulations as close to home as possible so you can, they say one throat to choke, put your hands around the neck of the politician, or the county commissioner, whoever's making these crazy laws you don't like, go talk to them. Go show up. How do you go show up at the U.S. Capitol on a centralized law? You don't. Decentralization is incredibly important. So here's some examples. Communism. Communism is central control. If it ever was, Communism is central control. China, central control. No argument there, right, folks? Right? Not very much decentralized thinking. As cool as you think China may be, it ain't. That's not a good deal. Neither is North Korea. Marxism, thought control. Yeah. Marxism is thought control. Not cool. You're not decentralized if you're a Marxist. Okay. Fascism, military control. You will do as you are told by the point of a gun. Which, by the way, has happened under communism, happened under Marxism, does definitely happen. And of course, we had a great example of fascism in World War II, and Pol Pot and some other regimes that have been around that have been very obviously fascist. Socialism. You do not own or control your own private assets. Does that sound like decentralization to you? No. Truly, decentralization is personal, physical ownership of assets. Your mind's an asset. Your thought process is an asset. Your health, your food, everything about you should be your own asset. It's you, and it means you're responsible. See, all these other forms of government just breed irresponsibility. And in capitalism, not perfect. And when capitalism gets out of control, it starts to act like communism. It acts like Marxism. It acts like fascism. It acts like socialism. It's just human nature. And just recognizing that this is human nature and that this happens to all countries go through this. All great, we're in the United States is in what's called like the fourth phase of a democracy. Unfortunately, it's not a good phase, but it does reset itself and regrow again. We're in that coming reset phase, which is even more reason to want to be decentralized because you want to be prepared. Because if you're relying on a central solution to bail you out, it ain't coming this time. And so it's best for all of us to be quick on our feet, keep our eyes open, keep our chin up, our chest up, or whatever. But yeah, I was a Boy Scout, be prepared. As Eagle Scout. I don't think I've mentioned that. Have I mentioned that? I mean, I was an Eagle Scout. Yeah, all that stuff. So that's tonight's video. Really important, a little bit long. We'll see who actually watches it because it's information, and a lot of people don't like information these days. Have a great rest of the week coming up. And by God, let's have some free thinking. Love you. Bye.